Well, thank you everybody for coming. I think since we were trying to figure this out, a few more people have joined. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Seema. So it looks like we have a good group. Welcome to the 2022, the last of the Ask NPSMA presentation series. And this is going to be on mental health and actionable goals. And so you may recognize the word cloud that we had generated in our presentation. I should say the group generated the word cloud in our presentation at the meeting in San Diego last month. So this is coming after our 2022 annual workshop and conference. Megan, could you advance a couple? So there are ways that you can keep current in the PSM world. Keep an eye for announcements and information in our monthly PSM news, and you can have that delivered to your email. If you need to sign up, just email. You can email me and I'll get you signed up for that. On the next slide, we have our innovator. So you can share best practices and see upcoming PSM news. And this is a peer-reviewed e-publication. So if you're interested in publishing something in this, you can get in touch with us. I'm happy to connect you if you want to get in touch with me for that. And we also have the PSM Alumni and Graduation Chronicle, which is a publication that features PSM alumni and graduates. And contact Dagmar, you see her email here, if you're interested in that. We also have opportunities to volunteer for NPSMA committees. So if you're interested in getting involved, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And then we also list some of our membership benefits. So as an NPSMA member, you can have reduced rate to our national conference. So we'll be in Tampa next November. And this also gives presentation opportunities for PSM students at the annual conference. So we saw some wonderful student presentations in San Diego last month. We also have a close relationship with Council of Graduate Schools, which can result in presentation opportunities and grants. Case in point, we have our monthly Ask NPSMA webinars. And then we also do have PSM-focused virtual recruitment fairs. And we have a Slack channel that we encourage you to join. So you can join our network and our community of program directors. We also have social media. So we have a presence on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And YouTube, you can see recordings of these Ask NPSMA webinars as well. So that leads us to our topic for today. So if you, and we have some more people. So Tate and Cynthia and Sana, welcome. We're excited to have you here.
Yeah, hi. I'm so excited also to see all your faces again.
It's good. It's good to see you too. It's good to see everyone. It was really wonderful seeing everybody in San Diego. And I should also mention before we start, Kristen is here. So Kristen is our current president, and we would like to thank Kristen for doing such an amazing job as the NPSMA president this year before we continue. So thank you, Kristen. And that leads us into a discussion of mental health and actionable goals. And so I will turn things over to my colleague and friend, Megan, if you'd like to take over from here.
Sure. So before we get started, in the vein of mental health, I would like everyone to just do a self check-in right now. What emotion best describes how you are feeling right now? This is just an emotion graph from despair to ecstatic, and all the moods in between. So I ask everyone just to take a second and to kind of try to identify how you are feeling in this moment. What emotion best describes how you're feeling? Just take a second. So the first step in becoming or increasing your self-awareness is being able to actually label how you're feeling. This is actually a very hard skill set for people to do. So practicing it in this low stakes environment as an icebreaker is a really easy way to start that conversation, to say this is a thing about self-awareness. This is also an easy step to, or an easy way to bring up mental health awareness in your class. I use this as an icebreaker a couple times this semester in my class, especially around like midterms and finals, or even at the beginning of the year, as a way to just kind of break the ice. Sometimes I go around the room and ask people to share if they would like what feeling they identified with and why. Sometimes we get funny stories. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes they share a little bit more vulnerability, and it helps to bring connection to the class, to our people as well. Whoops, sorry, I have a sick kid at home with me today, so you might get some pipe in from the side here. Sorry about that. Okay. So today's objective, today we are going to recap. Oh, okay, he's going away in a fit. Yep, sorry about that. Okay.
That's okay. I was close to doing the same thing when I got here after my class.
Okay, with your class. Okay, so today's objective, we're going to recap just real briefly about what we discussed at the NPSMA conference. We're going to really quickly talk about examples and strategies and tools around mental health that we've already discussed. And then Marcel and I are going to facilitate a brainstorming session discussion about actionable items that we can incorporate into our courses or our programs next semester. And then we're going to encourage and challenge you all to make good on those actions, to see or to determine which ones that you feel that you can actually do in this next semester. And then we're going to ask you to come back in February as a follow-up to see where are you at? Were you able to be successful, or what were the challenges? What were the setbacks, and how we can then move forward from there? So this was the opening slide for the session that Marcel and I chaired, and then we were able to bring in a really great expert, Denise Egan-Stack, around that presented her expertise around mental health. Especially with a focus on higher education and more specifically in the STEM fields. So just so we're all on the same page again, what is mental health? Mental health affects is emotion, psychological and social well-being. It affects how we feel, how we act, how we think, how we manage stress, how we make choices, and how then we relate to others. Some quick facts that we discussed at the conference, where graduate students are 6 times more likely to be depressed and anxious. And graduate students in the STEM disciplines are even at a higher risk. In fact, 26 to 30% of STEM master students will experience at least one mental health problem during their time in graduate school. So this is why we should all take buy-in from this. This is why we should all care. Our students, a quarter of our students will have these problems. We also know that having mental health problems and issues is linked to suicide because of the social isolation and loneliness. Marginalized communities and populations fare even worse. And then COVID has exacerbated this problem even more so. Mental health among graduate students, specifically, we know can lower their productivity, lower their academic performance. It increases the likelihood that they will drop out of your program, out of their graduate experience. And then leading on to that, it's low levels of satisfaction within that graduate experience. These can then have negative impacts on their personal lives. 21% of faculty agree that supporting students in distress has actually taken a toll on them. So not only are we seeing it from the student phase, but we're also seeing mental health having an increased anxiety on our faculty as well, having to try to mitigate or deal or support with the mental health issues within our students in our program, or our students have and within our program. And most faculty believe that their institutions should invest more in supporting mental health and well-being within their higher education program and institutions. So how do we bring, So how do we bring it up? You can have a conversation with a student, approach a student in a positive manner. Like I said, I'm not going into depth like Denise did, but I'm just giving us a recap so that it's kind of more fresh and at the top of our heads right now. Tell the student what behaviors caught your attention. Let them know that you've noticed a change in personality and you just wanted to do a check-in. Is everything okay? Be specific. Tell them why this behavior is concerning to you. Let them know that if it continues, that the problem could have consequences. If you continue to not show up in class, you will likely fail. Being specific about the outcome is a really great way to approach mental health issues without, as one of the other points we'll say, without being a clinician, right? We are not here to tell them what mental health problem they have. That is not our problem. We are here to be empathetic and supportive. Let them know that you will only share the information with those that need to know, but if it comes to a point, you will have to share, you may need to reach out to others so that the student can get the most appropriate help. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to Marcel.
Okay, and I remember we programmed this so they come through one at a time. Yeah, so
I'm going to put them all up.
yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Megan. So what about being proactive? So at the faculty level, what are things you can do? And here are some things that were in Denise's presentation. Connection, fostering connection with students. I tried to do this much more than I used to at the beginning of a course, where I try to humanize myself in their eyes instead of just being somebody who teaches them math. Tell them who I am, where I'm from, some things I'm interested in, do icebreakers so that they do the same if it's a small enough class. Really try to connect with them early on, and that makes the class less scary. Mental health statement on a syllabus, I'll get into that in the next slide, but things like wording of your syllabus. It's worth revisiting your syllabus and checking to see if your syllabus is really scarier and sterner than it needs to be. That's something that I've really reworked across the board for my syllabi. Your flexibility policy should be clearly stated, and it really should be what you're doing. Model well-being. This is a good one. Don't send your students an email at 1 o'clock in the morning if you can't sleep and you're doing work, because it really, them, think about the flip side of that. Them receiving that email from you at 1 in the morning, especially if they're up, is going to be stressful. And you also want to model for them that you shouldn't be sending these emails, professional emails, at 1 in the morning. It's helpful to list support services. I think a lot of what Megan was just talking about, recognize signs of psychological distress, and try and refer students to these different support systems. Provide a inclusive classroom environment, provide encouragement. These are all ways that faculty can be proactive. For a mental health statement, there are lots of different examples of this. So this here, there's a couple of examples here. Denise was a big fan of what they were doing in Wisconsin. These are just examples of health statements on syllabi. These go a long way with the students. I use one on my syllabi now, and I make a point to read it word for word, slowly, kind of thoughtfully, and try to connect with the room when I do it. And I will admit, I am very uncomfortable with doing it. I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. This is not my specialty, but I just force myself to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I have found that the students really love it. It really helps foster that sense of community, and really let them know that you care about them and their well-being, and they're also in their success in your course. At the department or program level, there are also many different things you can do. Trainings to faculty. We organized one of these actually I had a colleague of Denise's give a presentation at our math department faculty retreat at the beginning of this calendar year. And it was just wonderful for the faculty members, because if you think of faculty members, administrators, you don't typically see this type of training. All the things that we're trained in, there's a big hole where this stuff is missing. So trainings are incredibly helpful. Discuss mental health during all stages of graduate school with students, with faculty. Make your department more diverse and inclusive. Do things to foster community in your department. There are all these different things. I won't go through all of them. There, you see many other examples listed here, but there are many things that you can do at this level that can really help proactively to support your department, students, faculty, staff, administrators, all in terms of mental health. So I think that sums up the proactive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'll turn it back over to Megan.
So now I would like to, okay. I think I'm gonna, let me see. Whoops. Okay. 1 second. Zoom. Zoom delay. Okay, so that was just a quick refresher of what we, some of the highlights and the points that Denise went over. So we asked you guys to come here today because we wanted to not only just refresh our heads, but we wanted to really get a call to action. So what I'm asking you to do in this first prompt is to ask yourself what are, and I would like us to all take a few minutes to go ahead and contribute on here, or you can shout them out and we can put them up here, but what are easy or quickly achievable mental health changes that you could make either at the program or department program, or course level? Think of this as the low-hanging fruit. Okay, so is everyone familiar with how to annotate on a whiteboard? If they're not, you can go up to the kind of working bar at the top there and you can see a T for text. That one's probably the easiest. You can click on that. You can change your font color if you want. And then you can make a text box and, say like, I will put up here, create a mental health statement. Create a mental health statement for your syllabus. And then it'll be put up here.
Can I just call it out, Megan? Because
I can also dictate a lot of this too. Here, let me see.
so I want to agree with that. Create a mental health statement and add it to the syllabus for the spring semester. And that'll be easily achievable since we're all uploading spring semester stuff.
Other ideas, or take a few minutes to go ahead and put something on here yourself.
So the
Also
Zoom
want
is
to
telling me,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The Zoom is telling me I'm not able to write anything if I'm on screen share. So is it only me or?
No,
That's a message I get as well.
Yeah, I
Same.
can't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh no, there goes all my prompts for today. Well, does chat work? How does that? Is chat function still work? Or is it not what I'm screen sharing?
I think maybe in the settings of your whiteboard, you should do as editing, but not only viewing.
And editing, but not viewing. Okay, maybe I'll just stop. Oh wait.
We can add them in the chat anyway. That's the easiest.
I just tried changing some settings.
Here, we can try it again.
I think you were not supposed to go on sharing screen. You were supposed to go on view options. So on your, on one side of the bar, you have share screen. On the top or the side, wherever you have, it says view options. And if you scroll down to annotate, you should be able to use text there. I almost started writing something and then we got out of share screen, so I couldn't. So you're not supposed to share screen. You're just supposed to go directly and annotate.
Yeah, or just press the whiteboard button.
Okay. So let's try this again. It says they can share, they can see my screen. You should be able to, there we go. Someone can do it.
Yes, perfect.
No,
Okay.
Sana, are you on view options? When it says you're viewing Megan Dovick's screen, view options, it's in green and then with the black,
oh,
there's a drop down and there's
okay.
annotate.
So
And in
request
annotate,
remote control.
no, right below that is annotate.
Annotate. Okay,
Yes, and under annotate, you'll see all the options of drawing and eraser and text.
great. That worked perfectly. Thank you, Seema.
Thank you, Seema. I think I can do some of this too. Okay. Let's take a few more minutes, see what else we can think of. Give a presentation to the faculty. Have a list of resources available on campus. Spell out flexibility policies for a course. I can move some of these for us. Oops. Organize a follow-up session on mental health at our February department retreat. Oh, at your actual department. Oh, good. I thought you were talking about this. Include a self-reflection section in the course. Yes. If possible, invite them to an icebreaker meet and greet outside of class time, helping to create connection within our program, within our PSM programs. Yes. My students are always asking for more social time now that they're not completely locked up in COVID. They're saying, when can we meet? Can you arrange it? Yeah. Arrange for a visit with a university therapy dog Cooper, especially during finals week, right? How wonderful is that? Use the send later option for emails, modeling that behavior. Increase low stakes assignments. So they feel like they are accomplishing stuff, and then maybe build that confidence for those higher stake assignments, those finals. Do more events on campus. Guys, these are great.
Mm.
Mhm.
Megan, I tried opening the annotation text box. For whatever reason, I couldn't, so I sent some things in the chat.
Perfect. I'll check that out. Oh, yes, you have several things. Great. Yes, and I see Cynthia's as well. Ooh. Let's see if I can make that a little bit different.
Mental health first aid training program. That's a cool idea, Jerry.
Yeah, it's an actual, what I wrote here are things at the meeting I have discussed with Denise, just comparing notes from our institutions. And that's an actual name of a national program.
We do that one
and
here too.
the way we do it, we have, I'm sure we all have different versions of it, but we have what we call the Student Counseling Center. It operates out of we actually have a psychiatry department, but it could be out of your student affairs department with trained staff, and they run training programs each year. Actually, there's a fee, but I paid for our program directors in our college to take the training, which they have said is very helpful. So that's one thing we do. I also said we have what we call the red folder program, which is literally, I mean, if you get a hard copy, it's in a red folder. But what it means is our student affairs and student counseling offices have put together all their resources and links in one place. And so at the click of a button or the pulling out of a folder, faculty and staff can have access to that. The other thing is we have what we call BIT teams or behavioral intervention teams. And depending on the nature of an issue, it might be an acute emergency or it might be something more subtle and nuanced, but we can tap right into a faculty advisor or program director, student affairs dean, someone from student counseling center, a physician if need be, rather than a million emails flying, get them assembled as what we call the BIT team, so that they can assess a situation and help us work to resolve it. But I agree with, I think SEMA or someone else made the point about knowing our boundaries. And the hardest thing is within a program or within a lab, people trying to solve their own problems as a faculty member, and sometimes things simmer for too long before it's brought to an administrator's attention. So we try to encourage people to communicate sooner rather than later. Those are just things I remember sharing with Denise at the conference.
Great, thank you. So now I want to do one more follow-up on this prompt. Now that we know how to annotate a little bit better, and if you don't, let me know. You can go up to the top and there's a stamp feature. So when you go to annotate and it pulls up your bar, you'll see a stamp and you can pick your favorite icon, whatever. But go ahead and pick something and then put a mark, a stamp next to the options that we've created here that you think that you could really implement next semester. So not just like, I like these ideas, but it's like, what can I do? So really try to think intentionally about what could I actually make a difference now? These are great. Look at everyone's getting all excited. I love it. All right, look at everyone's really encouraged to go and actually do things. So I want you to think of these easy or low-hanging fruit mental health changes that we can actually do in the next month and a half, right? Before the next semester starts. And as you are not only saying what you're going to do, or you're not just writing down ideas that you want to do, but you're actually saying it with this stamp, you're declaring that you would like to try to do this. So I hope you all take note of which ones that you have decided that you are going to try to commit to for next semester. I'm going to take a screenshot of this so that maybe I can send out a list of all of these great ideas to everyone as well. Okay, so now I have another prompt that I want you guys to think about. Let me put this here. So here's the next prompt. What are some things that you would like, what are some things around mental health you would like to, oh, that does not make sense, sorry. That you would like to try that feel a little bit more challenging. So what are, again, that next level? So things that seem more challenging or hard. Yeah, you have to go back to the text and then create stuff. So maybe for you, maybe you're thinking, well, some of those low hanging fruit was actually kind of challenging too, and they can go on this list as well. What are some harder things? I know for me, even I know that maybe that is to get by to actually, especially STEM students. How to just bring it up. Like Marcel mentioned, being uncomfortable or being comfortable with being uncomfortable. How do we start that conversation? Program-wide discussions, priorities, right? Like this is, it's a, at least from my experience at our institution, this is a very, a topic that is mentioned often, but I feel like the actionable part is lacking at times. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Meet and greet session with students sounds easy, and we go through all this effort organizing it, and then no one shows up. I have that happen often. Yeah, make it not genderized, you know, it's everyone's issue, not females are more nurturing, males are more rigid. It's everyone.
And thank you for who wrote that. I do appreciate you saying that.
So just one more minute. I was trying to think of what would be the challenging aspects. I actually love that we came up with a lot of low-hanging fruit. I think that's a really great start. Maybe we haven't realized the bigger picture ideas, the bigger steps. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I just wanted to open it up to your guys' thoughts, as if anyone would like to explain a couple of these, like why does this feel more challenging? What are some issues that or challenges from this that you've already experienced, or that you are already projecting that this is going to be a challenge?
So I can go. I wrote about the intervention, and it's very uncomfortable where you are now reporting a student, but you're doing it for the sake of preventing something worse. I had a student with whom, I had a pretty intense conversation, but to get her to that point, I needed to, have her receive help. Turns out she was already getting counseling, but she was still unresponsive. And I mean, she knew it was me, because I said, at this point, I need to report you because I'm really worried about you. And, the end of the story was wonderful, that, we were able to provide for her all of the resources she needed to graduate on time. But it was not the easiest thing to do. And we do have, similar to what Jefferson has and Jerry was mentioning, Our counseling team is called Care Team, so they have advocates from the academic and financial and counseling. So they do a 360 care for the student. They try to assess all of the issues that are going on so that they can fully support the student, and then they act as advocates for the student with the faculty. So essentially they tell the faculty back off if they feel like the faculty is putting too much pressure. But to report to them means that you don't really hear what they are doing. You just inform the student and you inform them, or you can do it confidentially. Fortunately, the interventions I've had to participate in have been positive. But we've all heard of sad stories of students. So
Yeah. Thank you, Seema.
Yeah, I would like to share something. So I wrote actually organize a mental health event for faculty and staff, because this is sometimes underestimated, that we are so focused on our student that we forgot, at least as faculty and staff, how much burnt out we can be. So organizing such events will sometimes do great with the staff, motivating them more, or at least it's a platform where we can support each other at a departmental level, which is, I think, very important.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that idea. And I could see how that could be more of that long-term planning, where it's not going to happen by January, maybe, but it's something for a program goal long-term.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Along those lines, when I was the associate department head in our math department, when COVID first happened, we implemented this idea of the buddy system for teaching, so that in the event that you get knocked out for a week or two with COVID, you could then rely on your buddy to teach your courses for you. And I've noticed one of the blind spots for universities is that it's just expected that, oh, you got COVID, okay, switch to remote, do all your Zooms on remote, teach all your classes on remote. But what about just, maybe take it easy, relax, and try and feel better? That's lost. And that buddy system thing, I think, even though it wasn't used much, it gave people a lot of, I think, a sense of the safety net being there.
I love that idea of being able to have, and it's buddy system for a class, but it's also a buddy system for, I'm on the verge of breaking down, I need to step back for a minute. And you have someone who said, okay, tag, I'm in. I like that idea. It's really cool.
I think it did work well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll just weigh in on the one I wrote on the bottom right is, because we're talking about things that are more challenging, and it's the buy-in from some of the more stubborn colleagues. There's like a set of colleagues who just, this is nonsense. I don't need to get involved with this. This is not my area. So I'm just not going to give it any attention. I would like to get through to some of those individuals and try to get them on board.
I feel like that warrants a whole brainstorming session on its own. Getting buy-in. I mean, I have that just with my students. I was I'll share this. I was this past semester in my professional development, I bring up the idea of mental health well-being, and I talk about the stats. And the one stat that always does kind of resonate with them is that 1 in 4. That 1 in 4 of the people sitting in the audience, those STEM students, you will experience a mental health issue. And wouldn't it be great if we knew how to manage and identify that before it happened? So after I go through all of these ideas of like taking a moment, taking a breath, to be in time management, model behavior, those sort of things. And when I end with that buy-in is really, has been really effective. However, I still got some students at the end. I was practicing like a breath as a way to lower your sympathetic nervous system and to reduce that fight or flight response. she was like, that was really hokey. And I'm like, breathing isn't hokey, but I respect that. And that's a common pushback I get from my STEM students for sure. It's like, if I wanted to take a yoga class, I would go take a yoga class. And so I need to find a better way to integrate that. So it's not just looks like I'm doing a yoga class in my class.
Megan, I don't know, do you watch baseball at all?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean,
Okay, so you've seen pictures. I noticed this in pictures. Before any pitch, but most pitchers, if you watch their face, and usually the camera angle is always on the face of the pitcher, and they're trying to figure out, what kind of pitch is coming their way, and so that the commentators can say it's a knuckleball and so whatever, curveball, whatever.
Mhm.
When you look at their face, they are very intentionally breathing out.
mhm.
And biologically, physiologically, we know that slows down the heart rate. And that is so important because you've got anywhere between 20 to 70,000 fans yelling at you, either cheering you or cursing you out, depending on which team you are in.
Mhm.
And I can't even imagine the level of stress that, especially when you're in a playoff in the World Series, where the stakes are so much higher, and you just see these guys calm themselves down. That if the heart is racing, their physical control of the ball is going to be crazy, and if that's crazy, they've just lost the game. Especially if it is, the final out of the final inning, and there's this guy who's going to hit a home run, and you can't give him the pitch he wants. And I'm not a baseball fan. My husband is, but when I sit and watch with him, these are the things I notice. He's rooting, and I'm like, wow, look at that control. So when anyone calls it hokey, and if they happen to be baseball fans, tell them, well, is he doing yoga on the mound out there, or is he using his understanding of biology to say, I need to calm down, because when I do, then I can do my job well. And you see that in other, I'm sure, other professions, but no one has the camera on their face as much as a baseball player. And I think, go for it. I think that's, it's physiologically accurate to tell people, slow down your breathing, take a deep breath and slow down, because it calms your heart rate, and then you can focus.
Yes. Yes, I love the baseball analogy, or not even analogy, but just evidence. Yeah, no, that's great. So it sounds like these issues that we've identified here, that they're more challenging, or the more complex, the more layered, the more involved, versus this one are things that we have immediate control of, right? Like, we can do this, we can address it, we can create a mental health statement. And these are more of like, involves more than just one person, and you don't know how it's going to be received. Like, I don't know how it's going to be bought in, or how do I identify getting buy-in from faculty? Yeah, but I want to go back to this one, just because I'm really impressed with all of the stamps on it that people have said, this is something I think I could do. So I want to go back to this. And I didn't really intend on putting stamps on these more challenging ones, just because February is right around the corner. But I am going to screenshot this. I'm going to bring it up again, because I don't think this is something that we should forget. Doing the hard work is not something that we should just bypass. But I would like us to start off someplace that we can have real change right away. So my call to action then is for those who put a stamp here. I want you to really try to do this. I want you to take note of the ones that you stamped. Start thinking about it now. Create your implementation, your change, your whatever, start that process. And then in February, when we come back at the next NPSMA, Ask NPSMA, I want to share our stories. Marcel and I talked about, really, it's what were we able to do? What was successful? What did we try and it didn't work? Can we help each other to identify why? And then how can we support each other maybe towards the progression of these larger items like these? And maybe this is a shared resource thing that we as an organization can start to create some sort of, I don't know, I'm just kind of brainstorming now, some sort of data repository of like models that have worked. Or like Jerry, you already have the IT team, or the, you know, more information about, what's the one that you called it? The, what's the red? Oh, the mental health first aid training program. I would love to hear actually what that program was about, to see if there's a way that I could bring something similar to our institution, or I could pitch it to our counseling center as something that this has been successful at Jefferson. Is there something similar to this, or can we modify or create something here? So I don't know if that's something that we can do or as a group, but basically that's what I wanted to discuss today. Marcel and I had wanted this to be very fluid in discussion. So if anyone has any other questions or ideas, or where they would like to go from here, if they have suggestions on what we should do from here, you know, we're open to thoughts and everything now.
Will you share this back out with us, Megan and Marcel? Great,
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
thanks.
So at my institution, we are not really allowed to discuss mental health without engaging people in the wellness center. So it's a delicate balance, I think, to be talking about mental health in class because they don't want faculty to say the wrong things.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a way that you could talk with the mental health council, like the council services, and ask them what you can provide? I find that very
Yes.
different than what, you know, even that we're talking about right here, or that our institution wants us to do. That's interesting.
So what we usually do is we just bring them over to class, and they are happy to do 15-minute presentations and talk about resources and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess in that case, you know, the proactive things you can do without calling it mental health are probably good approaches, like thinking about wording on a syllabus and trying to connect more. There's a lot of proactive stuff you can do without naming mental health.
You can also call it emotional intelligence, which is highly desirable among future employers. Emotional intelligence includes this idea of stress management, which is a subtle way of trying to bring in mental health awareness. Like, how do you handle stress? How do you mitigate that? So I think there are some creative ways without saying mental health that you can also perhaps bring it up, but I don't want to put anyone in a sticky situation either.
No, I really like the idea of emotional intelligence, yeah, because then you're not, I think it becomes a little more difficult when you're approaching students to talk about things you have noticed about their behavior that may be worrying you. And I know we have had issues with in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So Suzanne says, we do mental health first aid through the Center for Health and Human Services. We are certified every 3 years. So does this mean you're certified mental health first aid?
Mm-hmm. I think we probably do the same thing that Jerry does.
Yeah, that's yeah, thanks, Suzanne, that for the reference. That's the program. Yeah, there's
ours was, we went to it was a 2-day 8-hour pretty intense training back in 2019. I don't know if it's still a 2-day event or if they've kind of scaled that back a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I'm due. There's a refresher if you've been through the
Mhm.
major training. But our counseling center also worked out, I would call it an abbreviated version. We all said buy-in is a challenge, so try to get your faculty on top of everything else to take 2 days to go take a
Mhm.
training session. I mean, as important as it is, it's
Right.
not easy unless you mandate it. So there was a shorter version. Thanks for providing the reference, Suzanne.
Mhm.
And we can look into that a little more and see how each of our institutions have adapted it and what internal and external resources there may be. I mean, some of you like me, I'm situated in a comprehensive university that includes an academic health center. So when I say, oh, our counselors are rooted in the department of psychiatry, that's nice, but everybody's not in that situation. So you need a combination of internal and external resources. And what Suzanne referenced is a national program that can be used or could be, I guess, adapted locally in some way as a model.
I have a link of other possibilities for other courses. Yeah, if let's see. So we had a grant that provided training for so many of us. And so we did not have to pay to attend this workshop. But then they listed another place to get some training on a person by person basis. So it looks like our grant had kind of ran its course. So, but that could be something that your universities could do, would be apply for this type of grant.
Yeah, I'll throw out one other reference. Some of us, but not all of us, are institutional members, but the Council of Graduate Schools that we've all know of and hear from. This is a major area of focus for them, as it is for everyone. And they also have established some resources. So if you happen to be a member, check out their website. If you're not a member, I think there's still things you can find and access. So I'll throw that out as an additional source. And Suzanne, if you can share that link.
Yeah, I don't think I shared it to everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's see. I didn't realize somebody had responded to me. Let's see. Yeah, do it that way. I think that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Thank
Oh, that's great. Very cool. Well, everyone, we are coming up to the top of the hour. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to thank everyone today for participating and coming with ideas and putting a stamp on things that they would like to try to incorporate. I really hope that you try to incorporate some mental health changes into your program or courses. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone back here in February to see what worked and what just didn't take off. And let's talk about it. And I hope we get new people that weren't here today so that we can talk to them as well. So if you have any other questions, feel free. I'll stick around for a few minutes. Otherwise, everyone, have a great and wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both. Yeah.
Thank you
Yes.
both.
Thank you, Marcel and Megan.
Thank you all for joining.
Megan, I was hoping you would show us your little baby. I was like, that'll be great.